name is Fat Tony. I'm a rap artist from Third Ward, Houston, Texas.
Yo, we here, fat motherfucking Tony, musician, artist, actor, TV show host,
Whoa.
uh, I don't know, mariachi band leader, multi hyphenate. What's the word I'm looking for? Thespian.
Writer, poetry
Nice.
genius.
Yes, absolutely. The creator of that amazing album that you see in front of you. Tony, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. Honestly, this is one of the best. This is one of the best weeks I've had all year. My new album is out. I'm getting a lot of feedback on it. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. I'm getting a lot of people understanding what we put into the album as far as the characters and all the details and the nuances of the project. So I'm really happy that so far it's landing with people and they're comprehending what we set out to do.
What made you want to write a rap short fiction album?
Well, so this album was done in collaboration with my longtime producer Goldeneye, formerly known as Tom Cruise. And he's produced pretty much the majority of my catalog, most of my albums. But we hadn't done a full project together since 2013 Smart Ass Black Boy album, right? And we have been talking over the last few years about doing another project together and just kind of loosely talking about what we wanted to do. You know, storytelling was one thing we wanted to do. We wanted to have an influence of like French pop music, like Serge Gainsbourg. We wanted to, just like try to make an album that's more musical, like really lean heavy on like the chord changes and like the melodies and the type of instruments we want to use, just like really take a more, for like lack of a better term, a more thorough approach to album making. And we talked about it for years, never had a situation to really do it until last year when I got down with Car Park Records. And I basically explained to them this like grand idea that me and Goldeneye had about making this album where we're building a world and it takes all these details. And for us to make the album, he needs to come to Brooklyn, which is where I lived at the time, to write with me. And I needed to go to Jamaica to record the album. This is the only way that it's going to work. And Car Park was down to support the project. So once I got in business with Car Park, that's when all those ideas that we had talked about over the last few years were finally put into context where we would just start planning and like thinking out what we wanted to do. And then we spent a week in October of last year in Brooklyn at Steel Tip Dub Studio. Goldeneye came out, and that whole week we just talked about like what this album could be and wrote songs for the album and talked about all the characters and all the concepts and just really like doubled down on us getting into the weeds of the album. Like all the stuff that we loosely discussed over the phone for the past few years, now it was time to look at some of those ideas and come up with some new ideas and find a way to put it all together in a cohesive way.
So tight, dude. And I mean, just speaking from my perspective, bro, that shit works. Like that, y'all executed that to the T, man.
Yep.
Like from the beginning, like how did it feel like getting back with Sam? Should I call him Sam or Goldeneye?
You can call him Goldeneye, but his real name's Shaka.
Shaka. Oh shit. Okay, well never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another S name. Close.
Yeah, another S name. Okay, so fuck it then. Okay, so getting back together with Goldeneye and also Bun B, the fucking triple threat that y'all are, coming from Double Dragon, which is the another album that you and Goldeneye worked on. How does it feel getting back with those guys when y'all were in Jamaica?
I mean, it was really a trip, honestly, like because not only are we hooking up to like make an album, our lives, like so much has happened in our lives since our last album. Goldeneye has a 6-year-old daughter. He has a wife. He moved out the country. I've moved around the country. Like we've had so many personal changes. And then we've had all this distance in us working together. And then we have the pressure of meeting all these deadlines, right? So us going into the first writing sessions in Brooklyn before we even went out to Jamaica, that was like a bit of like, all right, we're kind of like we got to warm up again. You know what I mean? Our creative muscles of us as a team were really weak because we hadn't been in the lab together. Even though we talk regularly and like talk about ideas, it's really different when we're face to face, right? So the first couple days of the writing sessions, there was a bit of tension of like, oh, what is this going to be like? Like, it's been so long, you know what I mean? Are we even going to be on like the same page? Are we going to, are we going to get this done? And I think the first day we talked a lot, but it felt like our output was kind of flat. Second day, talked a lot, made a song, but still the output kind of felt a little bit flat. Then the third day, maybe it was the second day, but second or third day, we made Gambling Man. And that was the first song out of this whole process that just flowed out of us. I had imagery of what the song was about. He had imagery of what the song was about. And all of our ideas were just in sync. All of our ideas about lyrics, about the beat, about the character Johnny, about what kind of person he is. Like, that was the first time that we were able to go pretty quickly from talking about the concept to executing the song. And from that point on, it was smooth sailing. Every song was just like that, of us just like coming up with it, talking about it, doubling down, talking about it for like hours. When I say coming up with it, that's like not just we're just doing a freestyle and just seeing what first comes to mind. Like, we're literally spending hours talking about a single character, talking about a character's origin story, even if we don't incorporate that origin story into the actual song. We still need to know those details as the architects of this world so we can deliver lyrics and music that makes sense for that character. So it feels like even in the 3, 4, 5 minutes of the actual song, you, the listener, can hear it and totally get who this person is, what their perspective is, what they're going through, and what this whole thing is about. And when it actually came time to us to get to Jamaica, that was a whole different feeling because we wrote in October. Gold and I went back home to Jamaica. I was still in Brooklyn. I kept writing. I kept adding verses. Like, we pretty much laid out the foundation of every song, and maybe half the songs we fully recorded what would be the final lyrics during those writing sessions. But a few of them, we still needed to fill in verse 2, verse 3, you feel me? And I kept going back to Still Tip Dove Studio to just keep working on it and like writing and just nailing it. And then I went on tour with Black Midi. And we were on tour for like 2 weeks. And every show was great. Every show was packed. And I felt like going on that tour after my writing sessions prepped up my vocal muscles to go into making the album. Like my whole plan was, if we can nail the writing, spend like a good month or two just like nailing down the writing, I'm gonna go on tour, work my muscles, and as soon as tour is up, I'm gonna go out to Jamaica and start working on the album. So by the time that we started recording, we felt really confident because we had the lyrics. We were confident that my voice was ready. Golden I was like confident with like the beats and like the structure of the album, and we just executed, and we just spent that time like really trying to focus in on getting the best vocal takes out of me, like trying to fit my voice to what the song demanded. Like on Feeling Groovy, where the character is like frenzied, I tried to match that with how I delivered the song. Or in Jeremy Bixby, where I'm the narrator telling you about a guy who is no longer around, I tried to get into the mode of a narrator, think like the rooster from the Robin Hood cartoon movie, how like he introduces the movie and he like struts out there and he's like, guys, I'm going to tell y'all a story. Like, we were inspired by things like that and like took that in mind when it came to recording the album. But recording the album had its share of problems too. Like, first of all, man, I'm sorry, I'm so long-winded with this answer.
Bro, it's great.
No,
bro.
it's great. I love seeing it.
Yeah.
But before I go into the Bun B thing, let me talk to you about what Bun B and what UGK means to us as artists, right? Even outside of them being my favorite rap group. Back in the day, in 2007, it's when GoldenEye and I first met. GoldenEye lived in Atlanta, and he had a group called Supreme that was signed to Warner Brothers. They were going to get a single mixed by Mike Dean. GoldenEye also has family in Houston, right? So GoldenEye's dad is Jamaican, who moved from Jamaica to Atlanta, so he was raised there. But his mom, she's from Texas and from Houston. So his mom and her side of the family and his half-siblings all grew up in Houston. So he's like, I'm coming to Houston. By like this point, GoldenEye and I haven't met. We're just talking over the internet. Me and him met on MySpace, right? Wow. So it's like we would just like message about music. I was a big fan of his group. I was younger than him. I'm like 3 years younger than him, right? So for like me in high school, looking at his group, I was like, oh, these are like college age niggas doing their thing, and like they're like really different and they're really smart. And they have a wide variety of influence, like me, like, you know, like they would also cite groups like Slum Village right alongside 666 Mafia and like My Bloody Valentine and just all these like different styles of music. And I found a kinship in that. So I really wanted to link with them. So when GoldenEye told me that he was coming to Houston, I was geeked. And I was like, bro, I'm actually about to have my first recording session for my demo. Like this was gonna be my first or second like real time being in an actual studio, and it happened to be on the night GoldenEye came to Houston. So GoldenEye comes to Houston. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna have my mom come and pick you up. That's how young I am, right? We're like mad young. I get my mom to pick him up to take us to the studio, and the address that he gave us was for two streets over from where I grew up. So I'm like, oh, crazy, your family lives here. We like get to the house. It turns out that his aunt is my little brother's school teacher, and his mom's family knows many of the same people from my mom's family because they all from like the same neighborhood. They're all from 3rd Ward, right? And at that, I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy. You know, we like go to the studio, we like make a song, we're like having fun, and in the first few days of that trip, Pimp C dies. And Pimp C was a good friend of Mike Dean. So Mike Dean canceled all of his appointments. There was no more sessions happening. So now GoldenEye is in Houston. You know, he like has all this free time now because he's not going to be working. Now he's just kicking it. So because he had all the free time, me and him just started hanging out like every day, just like talking about music, telling him my ideas about music, hearing his ideas about music. I like took him to another recording session I had at my friend Ill Faded's house. And at the end of that trip, he gave me a beat CD and was like, yo, when like me and my group are done with my album, maybe you and I can make an album. It'll be great to like produce another artist. And I bring that up because to come full circle and have Bun B on this album, and to know that the very tragic passing of Pimp C kind of led to me and GoldenEye forming a partnership, which birthed my whole music career. I feel like that's just perfect. That's a perfect circle. You can't make this shit up. So to have Bun on this album in a kind of spiritual way, it feels right for Fat Tony as an artist. You know what I mean? And man, if it wasn't for Bun B, this album wouldn't sound as good as it sounds, because Bun texted me that he was out in Jamaica, and I was like, yo, we have to link. But it turned out he was on the other side of the country, right? Mm. So, and he was there to celebrate his wife's birthday. So he doesn't have much time to kick it or to work. He's like doing family shit. And I wasn't going to let none of that stop me. I was like, bro, I will pull up on you. I got an Airbnb across the country out in Montego Bay. Me and GoldenEye drove from Kingston with a bunch of studio gear. And we just set up shop. And he found time in his busy day to come through and lay the verse. And he was such a pro. Like, I was explaining to him what the song was about and how I wanted his verse to really sum up the point that I was trying to get across. Because in the first two verses of that song, I'm just showing you all this imagery of this person's life is like this person's life is like this, like ups and downs. And I'm trying to show you that everybody has good and bad in their life and that you should be grateful for yours. But I wanted Bun B to be direct about that because he's the OG, and I feel like him coming as the last verse just perfectly rounds that out. And as I'm telling him this, he's just typing lyrics. I played him the song twice, and he was like, yo, I got it, laid it down, had it right the first take.
Crazy.
But we found out the mobile gear that we brought, which we thought wasn't as good as what the studio had, sounded way cleaner than what the studio had. Mm-hmm. So we ended up re-recording the entire album. And if it wasn't for recording Bun, we wouldn't have had this other piece of gear to really compare the vocal takes and to see what a jump in quality this piece of gear offered versus the older gear that the studio had. So yeah, man, it's crazy that this album is all about storytelling, but also there are all these tales and adventures that we had just making this album. Like, right. You know, that at that moment, at that moment when we had to re-record the whole album, at first we were panicked because we thought that we had used all our time effectively. We were ready to just chill. And then it's like, damn, we have a few days left in the studio, and now we got to redo everything. Can we do it? You know, and there were a few other mishaps that happened with like a hard drive crash that like lost a bunch of mixes, but we recovered the drive. Like throughout this whole process, we had moments of like, is this going to even happen? And it all worked out beautifully, and it was all worth it.
It's definitely like, dude, it's like, that's like such a great album, man. And knowing the backstory, like it makes it a lot more like just a little bit more better in my head. Just like, cause it was already like yo, like up here, but like now like, it's like, yo, all the stuff that you went through just to get there, and you still met the deadline. Crazy.
And now, like you said, DESHAUN, like I got this idea in my head now of when I'll listen to the album, I'll now see Tony and Goldeneye driving across Jamaica to get this verse, and just that's a beautiful image. I'm so glad I get to have in my head now.
Got newfound.
That was crazy. that was crazy because I remember like we were so tired because like, you know, we're not rich, right? Like I'm not a rich man. All the money I put into this album, every dollar counted. So the days that we're taking off to go make this happen, we're missing studio time. So it's like, damn, like we like gotta be nimble, right? We like can't fuck around. So we drove out there, got the verse done, spent the night, started driving back so we could use more of the next day's studio time. And we were so tired, we had to just like pull over to the side of the road because both of us were just passing out. Go not driving, sleep. I'm in the passenger sleep. We just like, bro, we about to crash, man. Let's just call it a day. Fuck the studio money for this day. We need to take a nap. So we pulled over, nap for like 30 minutes, and like, all right, let's just drive home safely, get us something to eat, and just call it a night, man.
That's wild.
That is crazy.
Like coming from working with Tadex on Wake Up earlier this year, did you notice like any like evolution in your like writing style or process from that time? Because that was like, I mean, not that long ago, but like still so much has happened in between then. Definitely,
because well, it's funny because the way these records come out, the time the time between records coming out isn't accurate to how they were made. So Wake Up, me and Tadex started recording that in 2018, and we recorded most of the album then, and then we recorded like 4 more songs for it in like June of 2019, right? So right after that period, me and Goldeneye were talking about our album, and then October rolls around and we start working on it. So this mode of writing has been something I've been trying to craft since last summer. Like soon as a project's done and I have another project coming up, I'm all focused on that. If I had another album that I was working on now, I would be on that right now. But but I don't. But like typically, you know, once I've dialed in the mode for the project I'm doing, if I have something else on like the back burner coming up, I am ready to start on it almost immediately. I think with this album, I'm not planning to start on another project yet because I feel like I have a lot more to soak up. Because in actuality, to make this album really took all those years of loose conversations that me and Goldeneye were having about what we want to do. Like there were moments during the writing sessions where one of us would like mention something and I'd have straight up deja vu. Like I remember where I was when we were first talking about this like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? So I would say the biggest difference for the writing process is that this is all storytelling and it's rap short fiction, which is very different from what I might do on Wake Up or on 10,000 Hours. Like on those albums, I'll make mention to myself. Even on like Smart Ass Black Boy, which has a lot of storytelling too, and on McGregor Park, it isn't often so clear cut that the story isn't about me. Whereas on this album, we made a conscious effort to make it like these aren't songs about Fat Tony. I only refer to myself on the intro song when I mention the Wake Up album. That's the only time this whole album where I'm kind of speaking from the voice of Fat Tony. The rest of the album, I am either a character or I'm the narrator, right? And that was really, really challenging, man, because there were certain rhymes that I come up with for these songs, and Goldeneye would like call it out and have me edit it because he could see some of my perspective was leaking into it when I need to really stick to what this character is about, right? And I think it's really important for me to do that since so much of my music has either been directly about myself or it could be about myself, right? So that was just a totally different writing process, and it was really challenging. Like it honestly felt like I was starting from scratch because even like storytelling, I hadn't incorporated a lot of storytelling on my last couple albums. I did not do it. But on McGregor Park, I do. Smart Ass Black Boy, I do. And it's been years since I was really in that mode. So it was honestly kind of refreshing to go back to this mode because I think as a writer, storytelling is a great tool because you can continue to create without always rehashing the same subjects. Like I think, you know, a lot of people say they like spend their whole life making their first album, right? So their first album or two has like a lot of these ideas that they built up over time of who they are and what they represent. And I think I've gotten to a point where I want to explore different themes in my music, and I find the best way to do it is through storytelling.
That's sick. That definitely comes out on Jeremy Bixby, which is both of like one of our favorites. Like that's like I played that for my mom, and she was like, "Yeah, this is great." And
Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
we don't normally agree on music like that, but she was like, "Yeah, this is fire." So like,
I love the ad libs on that song so much too.
oh yeah, dude, everything about that song is great.
Yeah.
Like the first time I heard that, I was in a thrift store looking at shirts, and I was like,
No shit.
"Yeah, no, I'm like, no joke." I was like, and I ran it back twice. I was like, why does bro know me so well? Because I was like, it was so great. And so like, take us through the process of that song. Like, how hard was that one to write? Because like, you have to create a whole world and then a specific character in that world.
I would love for y'all to interview Steel Tip Dove because he was the engineer who was doing our writing sessions. And sometimes I just wonder what this fool was like thinking when he would hear me and Goldeneye talk. Because Jeremy Bixby, like, we just started off talking about going to like the thrift store or like going like shopping. Like I think there's like a thrift store right up the block from Steel Tip Dove Studio that I liked. So we were just talking about that, and then we just got into this like, but what about the story of those shirts? Like, who was the owner? Who was the people on it? And I was telling Goldeneye how I have like a bunch of shirts with like companies that I've never heard of. I like can't Google them. Like when I like Google them, the name, nothing pops up. And I'm just like, what was this thing? Like was like this popular? Was this a failure? Like you just wonder what like happened. And then we just started talking like, yo, what if we made a song about that? So it just went down that wormhole, and then we just kept going like, all right, but what if the guy is like a goody two shoes? But then what if he's like trying to be a politician? But what is gonna be his like downfall? Man, what if his like downfall is these shirts that we're finding? These like shirts would ruin his like can't just like spitballing and just I mean. In like some sense, I kind of feel like we're just being stupid. You know what I mean? Like we're just talking about like what could be and just being imaginative and just running with it. And I think that that's one of my favorite songs on the album because it's a concept I've never ever seen before.
Right.
Like
Oh, yeah.
that was the song that we made where like we were just like, yo, we on some other shit right now. Like not just even as like rappers. We on some other shit as just niggas who just be thinking, you know?
Yeah.
Being creative and shit.
Nah, and it totally works, bro. Like that one sticks with me because like yeah, I mean, well, of course, like the storytelling aspect, but your wordplay and your flow on that one,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like
Who was
the
that?
delivery on that album, or the delivery on that song in particular, is something that I've never really kind of heard done like that before. You know what I'm saying? It just works so well because it's like I was listening when I was walking the other day, and I just found myself just like, damn,
Yeah.
just like that the whole time.
I'm gonna tell you what inspired me on that song, as far as my like voice and my cadence flow. Andre Nicotina, he has this song called "Train with No Love," and it's also a story song. But the way that he's flowing on that song, he has the same cadence every verse, right? And I'm doing the same thing, and I felt like doing that makes you pay attention to the story and what I'm talking about more, you know, because if I switched up with like crazy flows and shit, I might kind of lose you on like the story when like the whole selling point of this song is the story that happens. And yeah, Andre Nicotina, are y'all familiar with him?
nah.
I'm not.
Classic rapper from San Francisco, you know, 90s and like a 2000s rapper. I first heard of him and first heard of this song because back in the day, in 2010, when I put out my first album, Rabda Gab, I went to jail for having a joint. It's such bullshit. I had an unsmoked joint on me. My friend got pulled over. He had a bunch of cash on him because he was like a restaurant manager or something. But anyway, I like went to jail. Blah, 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 got on probation, and I met this girl who was on probation too, and we became friends, and like we were kind of buddies because we were both like 21 but on probation, so we couldn't really like go to bars and stuff. Right. So like I just had this friend, so like she was my friend to kick it with when our friends were like going to bars and shit. We're like, oh, we'll just watch TV and like hang out, and she put me on to that song. And I had never heard of him before, but I just remember being blown away by that song. I just went down the rabbit hole of his catalog, and
Yeah.
big fan of him, man. Great artist. Check him out.
I wrote down. You said "Train with No Love."
Yeah, Andre Nicotina, "Train with No Love."
Cool.
Got you. Like I was talking to you about it. I hope I said this before. I was like, I haven't really heard like anything like this since like Love Below. But like that was like the thing that the first thing that my mind went to when I heard the album. I was like, man, this is very like Love Below, Andre 3000-esque. Like, did that play any part, or am I bugging on that?
I mean, kind of, because me and Goldeneye are huge fans of Outkast, and I remember one of the songs that we would jam before the writing sessions just to like get in the mood is "Skew It on the Barbie." And I don't know, I think maybe just it's like in our subconscious Outkast is always there because we really admire them because they were artists who had critical acclaim and were commercially successful too. Like I feel like that's the sweet spot where you can be constantly doing new things in your artistry and constantly pushing people's comfort zones and trying to lead people to know you may have not heard this before, but this is where things need to go. Trust us. Come with us on this journey. And I think that they're a group who were damn near flawless at doing that. And that's something that we always aspire to. Like when like we're making music, we're always thinking like, yo, we want people that understand music to fuck with this, whether they're a critic or a scholar or just a music obsessive fan. You know, I want people that understand the history of music. I want them to look at my music and be like, wow, this guy is doing some different next level interesting shit. And yeah, I mean that is always a sweet spot. I mean, people like y'all, you know, people who like really care about music and like care to talk about it past the superficial. Like there are some music fans who the deepest that they'll go is how much so and so sold, or like who has more like followers. They just only play the numbers game, but they're not thinking about the cultural impact or the importance of different styles and eras and regions. So yeah, people like y'all the folks who are in our mind when we're making these moves, you know, making choices like, you know, making a mariachi remix of Gambling Man and having a mariachi band in the music video for the original version, and having scratch off tickets that unlock the remix for like fans like buy the album early and they can see the scratch off motif in the Gambling Man video, and they look closer, you'll see it in like the Feeling Groovy video. Like people like David Lynch or damn, I'm blanking on his name. Homie that made The Shining.
Oh,
Stanley
Kubrick.
Kubrick.
Yeah.
People like them who like put these Easter eggs and like all these details in their work. So if you are the type of fan who will watch it over and over and wants to analyze it, there's something there for you. That's what we wanted to do with this album.
That's hype. I really love that.
Yeah, I mean, once again, man, it's beautiful, bro. Javi, did you want to say something? I feel like I kept stepping over you, bro.
No. I was like, the only thing I gotta say to that was me, like the rollout of the album with those scratch tickets and stuff. That was just that was a beautiful thing. I loved the video that you posted of the scratch off tickets and stuff, and just seeing how that will unlock that remix of it. That's such a cool idea too. Is that?
Yeah, just want to have fun.
Yeah, 100%.
You did that also with when Wake Up came out, and you had your own blend of coffee come out. So like,
Yeah.
you
exactly.
good at rolling out
like
albums,
the album is called Wake Up.
right?
Coffee.
Right. No,
You know what I
and it
mean?
totally makes
I know, yeah.
sense. It's not nothing outlandish. That's what is so great about it. It's like
Yeah.
you remember that. It's like, oh yeah, Tony and Tadex did coffee for this album.
It's just cool though. Like the thing that like, so with the coffee, with the scratch off, it's just cool because like you're talking about like like this album for the people that want to go the extra mile and find those like little nuances and stuff. It's cool for like us that there are artists out there that will go that extra mile and be like, it's called Wake Up, so let's just make a fucking coffee brand about it. Let's develop scratch tickets so people can get this remix. So it's like, that's why this album is special to me, because it's like, I obviously, like, now after you told us the story about like driving through Jamaica and all that stuff, like I have a deeper appreciation and understanding of it, but it makes us and people that also listen to the album, we feel like damn, he's doing this for us just as much as he's doing it for himself, because he's putting this much time and passion and energy into it. And that's a hard thing to come by sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
It's important, man. I always feel like my favorite art in many different mediums do that too. You know, I just want to give people a lot to play with if they get into me. You know, that is why I like make an album at least every year or two. Like if you're an old fan, there's a lot for you to parse through. If you're a new fan, there's a lot for you to find out about. I just think that that's more fun. And I was even doing this back in the day. Like my first album, Rabd or Gab, which stands for Read a Book, Do a Report, Get a Buck, which was like a program that my school district had when I was little. And basically you could rent a book out the library, take it back to school with a one-page report, and you would get $1. And middle school, but ever since middle school, I wanted to make a song called Rabd or Gab, or I wanted to make an album called Rabd or Gab, because I felt like people from my generation and from my part of Houston who went to this school district, they would recognize it, and it would kind of be like our own thing. And on that first album release, I did this thing called List or Gab, where if you listen to my album, do a report, I will mail you $1. I like basically set out like a P.O. box for you to mail me a album review. And all the people that like did it didn't want the money. They were like, yo, we just think it's cool and we like your album. Thanks for having something different. Yeah. And I feel like more people talked about me doing that than even the people that actually did it. People were just interested to see just like something different. And I just did it because I thought it was fun. Like I try to do things that I think I would like as a music fan. You feel me? Like if I was a Fat Tony fan, what is Fat Tony going to do for me that is like going to keep me engaged? What is he going to do that is going to challenge me? You know what I mean? Which I think is also important. Like on this album, we didn't want to spoon feed what any of the songs were about. We didn't want to just flat out tell you within the song how to feel about it, what to think about it. We want you to find that out on your own, to find your own meaning. You know, there are people who have different meanings for Jeremy Bixby. There are people who like see different things in Gambling Man. You know, there are people that would look at Jeremy Bixby and feel like he got robbed. There's people that look at Jeremy Bixby and feel like he was vain and got what he, you know, deserved because his heart wasn't in it. And I think that that's the beauty of art. And I always want to like set it up so that the audience can like join me in thinking about this work and figuring it out and just have something to like discuss. It's more fun. I feel like that's what art is for. That's why people put posters up on their wall and like fan out about artists because the artist has given them so much to think about. I think that's really important.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of like different meanings from songs, I texted you about Back in the Saddle because the Sam story on that song, you were talking about him like the kitchen was always on his mind. He couldn't put down the pots and pans. And I texted you, I was like, is Sam like a drug dealer? And you were like, no. It was just so funny to me. It was like,
but that's cool. But that's cool. There are like songs that I listen to that have totally different meanings to me than I think that they're supposed to. Like I was just talking to somebody about this song that I feel like it's a breakup song, but when I hear it, it reminds me of my grandmother passing. Like it's a song about losing someone special in your life. And you could frame the lyrics as being about a parent or a relative that's passed, and it fits. You could frame it as being about a lover that's, you know, left, and it fits. But that song being about my grandmother, that'll always be that to me anytime I hear the song. And that's for me. And I think it really doesn't matter. I hate when like artists try to impose how the audience should feel about their work. Like, I just think it's wrong. I think artists shouldn't get mad at critics, shouldn't get mad at fans, whether they understand it or not. And I know that that's hard, but once you put it out into the world, it's for people to digest it. It's not for you in the same way it was before it was public.
Right.
Yeah.
So like going to like so now that the album is out, you in the past have released Chop Not Slop versions of your albums. Are we getting that with Exotica?
Man, I talked to OG Ron C back in July about doing it. and he said he would, but he ain't done it yet. So we gonna see. My man though, that's my man. But we gonna see, man. I'm about to hit him up. I was just thinking about that today. I was like, damn, OG said that he was gonna do it before the album was coming out. He hasn't done it yet. Should I tap in with him? But I don't want to annoy him. You know, it'll happen when it happens. But yeah, man, I love getting those like chopped albums. I remember when I got OG Ron C to chop up Rabba Gab, I hit him up on Twitter because at the time it was like before he was like fucking with Drake and stuff. He had a radio show in Houston where on Sunday nights he would play chop and screw music, and he would be on like Twitter, and I was just thinking like, man, I want to see OG Ron C get some more shine. I was like, yo, niggas sleeping on him. Right. So I like hit him up. I was like, bro, not that him chopping my album's gonna blow him up, but right. I was like, yo, bro, I really respect you. I want to get you to chop my album. It's my first album. And he was like, all right, I will do it for this price. Cool. I was working a part-time job then, and I think what I paid him was like maybe like a week's worth of my check or something, and paid him. And I remember he came to my mom's house to drop off the CD with the files on it, and then I sat in my like back house with my friends, and we listened to it, and we were just like, yo, this shit sounds so real. And he like dropped a freestyle on it. He like dropped a freestyle on like one of the tracks, and then was like, all right, I gave you a couple versions. One has the freestyle, one doesn't. You can keep it if you want. I was like, bro, of course I'm gonna keep you flowing on this track. It just makes it doper.
Right.
But yeah, man. You know, I fucking love Screw, and I love chop and screw music. I'm always gonna big it up.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to Twitter, bro. Yeah. Shout out to Twitter. That's how this whole relation situation started with me and Tony. I just randomly, was watching Thrift Hall. I've told you this story before, but I was just watching Thrift Hall, and I was like, man, this dude Tony is fucking great. And I was like, I wonder. And I was like, fuck it. I just said, when can I get an interview with Fat Tony? I'm gonna find that tweet and I'm gonna put it up right here. I was like, I wonder if I can get an interview with Fat Tony. You were like, hit me up. And I was like, fuck yeah, nigga, what?
Yeah, nah. I mean, I love doing interviews with people, especially with outlets that are considered like smaller or like up and coming. Cause I remember growing up, I would see videos of like Biggie and Puff Daddy when like they were popping. I mean, Biggie was pretty much popping since Ready to Die came out, right? They would still do these like interviews with these like public access shows, and with like, you know, just like you just like get online, get on YouTube. You'll find all these video interviews with Puffy and Biggie, and it looks like some low budget shit, while at the same time they're on MTV, BET radio. They got a top 10 song. And many years ago, when me and Goldeneye were playing a tour for the Double Dragon album, me and him told each other that we always wanted to give interviews to outlets like that. Like no matter what level people think we had or whatever, it's just something that's important to us. Because honestly, a lot of those people be the better interviews. A lot of y'all really care about the music. Y'all are coming with like fucking respect. Like some of these other outlets, they just do this day in, day out. It's kind of a thankless job in like their mind. They don't really care. But when you're talking to some of the quote unquote little guys, like they have so much of their heart and like so much respect in it. It's just more enjoyable for me to talk to people like that.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Dude, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Happy, I don't know what was the first time you heard Tony, but I know my first time was definitely on All the Best with Puzzle, and that's like one of my favorite songs ever because you come in so smooth, bruh. And I didn't know who you were at the time, so I was like, yo, random. Who is Fat Tony? I think that's how I found Thrift Hall. I think I Googled your name.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, Thrift Hall. And then the Zach Box episode was out. So I was like, oh man, two people that I like are on the same thing. And shout out to Nagashi on Thrift Hall and did the cover art for Exotica.
Yep.
So
he was in, actually, if you look at my Instagram story, I just shared this clip that Taz Arnold posted.
Mhm.
It's an old song with GoldenEye's old group with Nagasi and there's this rapper named Sam who was in his group.
That's awesome.
Sam on like back in the saddle. I loosely based the Sam character on him because he actually quit the rap group while they were signed to the major label because he was just over being a rapper and he later became a chef. I'm not sure if like being a chef was his dream when he was in the group. So it's loosely based on him. But man, if you check my story, you can hear an old song of Nagasi, GoldenEye, Sam, their old group, Supreme. But yeah, that's just a little extra if you want that.
yeah.
I think the first time I heard anything Tony related was when DESHAUN showed me, I think 10,000 Hours senior year, and you were listening to it or something, and I passed by you in the hall. I just said, "What you listening to?" And you said 10,000 Hours, and I said, "Okay, bet I'm gonna listen to that on my way to class." First song I played was No Beef. didn't even play the first song on the album. I played No Beef because I was like, that's a great title. And now that was just like, that just led down to the whole, like, down that rabbit hole that you're talking about, just going down and finding all this great stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's very heartwarming to be like, yo, I passed him in like the hall of school and I was like, what are you listening to?
Oh yeah, bro. Don't forget we young as fuck.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like just graduated last year.
Yeah.
It's wild, dude.
I can't lie though. I feel like I am very happy to be an old head. I feel like me and GoldenEye, at least, I feel like we are in our music making prime. Like I think we were really good when we were young, and we got a lot of support and a lot of help and a lot of encouragement, and we were also better than a lot of niggas back then too.
Yep.
But I think that these days we're just in this sweet spot of our songwriting and the way that we think about art that feels really mature and next level and kind of what I wanted out of being a songwriter that I don't think I was able to fully wrap my head around back then, even though we were doing a lot of the same stuff. Like we had the same urges. We had the same instincts to tell stories and to make beats that were kind of musical and to use these stock sounds and stuff in our beats to like separate ourselves from what other producers are doing. Like we had a lot of the same good ideas, but we were just so young and wild and like they were just coming out. And now we're at a point in our lives where we've made enough music to really know what fits and how to really execute the way that we want to execute rather than just like letting it all out raw. But we couldn't have gotten here without years of just being raw and just like trying it out and just giving it our all. But yeah, this is a sweet spot, man. I actually feel like if there are kids out there who are just learning about me, I think this new album is the right place to start because I feel like you can really gather what my sound is like from this album, since a lot of my sound is what me and GoldenEye make with each other. So you will hear that. You will hear a bunch of my different kind of flows, like you hear my more rapid fire flow on New Beginnings or the more storytelling cadence on like Jeremy Bixby. I think it's a great place to start, man. I can't be more fucking proud of this album, honestly.
I mean, I don't blame you, bro. This album is really, really great, man.
Like, what I'm surprised we haven't talked about is we have not talked about Je ne sais quoi yet. Like,
oh man, I've been trying to get around to that, like naturally.
no, I just kind of want to like walk us through that real quick, because that is my favorite song in the entire record, because like
okay,
like I'll just be feeling myself when I hear that song. I'm just like, I love this.
Wow. Yeah, that was a song where, all right, so years ago, I'm a big Prince fan, right?
Mhm.
And I love the Prince album. It's called Parade, right?
Mhm.
And on this Prince album, Parade, which is the soundtrack to Under the Cherry Moon. I can't believe I blanked on that. But on like that album, he had like more of a European influence. Like it was the soundtrack to a movie that was shot in France. You know, he has all these strings on it. Like it's really, for like lack of a better term, it had more of a European feel to it. And I remember years ago, I was telling Goldeneye how it would be interesting if we tried something like this, because I didn't feel like other people in rap music were thinking in that same direction, right? And he was like, "Oh, that's interesting, because I'm a big fan of like '60s French pop, like Serge Gainsbourg, right?" So we were like, "Yo, let's like try to make some music with like a bit of that edge to it," and that ended up being this song. And how this song started was I was like making a beat, and I was trying to match the kick snare pattern of Prince, "Let's Go Crazy," or "Let's Pretend We're Married." Both of those songs have like a similar pattern of just like kick snare, kind of like a Ramon song too, just like simple, just kick snare, kick snare, kick snare. And I played that out, and then Goldeneye added some other shit around it to make it really, really funky, and just started messing around with like the keys and like coming up with that melody. I actually filmed him coming up with like the keyboard line. And then from there the track just like flowed. That was another song like Gambling Man where like it just flowed out of us. Like there was no arguments or like debate about what this song was like going to be. We just knew what would fit. And I feel like I love how that song is right in the middle of the album, because I feel like for like some albums the middle kind of lags, but on this album the middle, it just starts getting like crunk. Like it doesn't start out with like the most high energy songs at the beginning, right? It like kind of leads you into it, and then the middle, it's Gambling Man, Feeling Groovy, Je ne sais quoi, New Beginnings. Just like it just keeps getting hyper when like you would think the album should be starting to lag a little bit. But yeah,
that
man,
song,
I am the king of these long-winded answers, bro.
Nah, it's so great, man. I'm telling you, dude, I've done so many interviews where the interviewee is so dry, and I have to like prod and pry answers out of them. So I'm like, so yeah, how was that? And then they give me like a one-word answer. I'm just like, so how'd that make you feel? And I feel like Barbara Walters or something like that. This is great, bro. I appreciate you being like this.
that Je ne sais quoi, so in reference to the album, that has some of my more favorite imagery, because of like that, because of those experiences that are so human almost. They're like so like we can all relate. The one that comes to mind is, it's like, what is it? It feels like the wheel of the first car you own. Like when people think about their first car, it's like they don't think about the wheel, they think about driving in it. But like it's just like that. I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of that imagery that you gave us, because it's like, damn, all of us can relate to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like talking about the like feel of that bitch, you know what I mean? Like how it feels when you first turn. It's like, yo, I'm fucking really driving, bro.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Nah, you like listen to that song. You're like, damn, this must be a good ass beat. Like,
Yeah.
you said, long day at work got you stressed and you mad, but you come home, sun sets, you the best dad. You just
Right.
fuck, bro. Like
It's like removing her or it's like taking her home and removing her bra. Like,
you're like, man, this is a good ass beat, bro.
yeah. It's like, what is it? The first line is like, waking up, coming out the coma. Like, oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been in a coma, but like that was
Waking up, yeah, he was, and and the guy coming out the coma, the like scent of his wife, like whatever she's wearing.
Yeah.
That's what brings him to. It's fucking beautiful.
You reminded how you
that was
know
a
her.
song. That was a song where I just wanted to talk about like all the different beauties of life, from like stuff that feels like mundane to like shit that feels extraordinary. Like, you know, hearing your child say their first words is an amazing thing, but it's common. It happens to literally everybody. Somebody being like broke, you and your friend are broke, you like sharing the last piece of food, you know, in that moment, you're like thinking about your friendship. You're probably thinking about youth. You're probably thinking about how, damn, man, we still got something. We still got another chance to get out of this and to glow up. You know, I wanted to like show all that stuff back to back. That was a song where I think the writing process was hard, even though it's not a story, because I was trying to be poetic on every line.
Yeah.
And I wrote a bunch for that and just like scrapped out a bunch and just kept going till I really refined it to where it needed to be. That was a song where at first it felt like I could just say anything and it would fit the song. But as I was trying to do it, it's just like, no, like that just doesn't grab me the way that this next line does. So I need to go back in here and make sure that I'm really nailing it so every lyric counts.
It's like, yeah, and just even thinking about that, like those, like you said, like those small things and that we take for granted that make us so full of joy, like sharing that last piece of food, like the wheel of the first car. It's not to be like corny or cheesy about it, but it's kind of incredible that that song's written and made before like the time we're living in right now. And like I had a moment the other day, like I think I was driving to Murfreesboro to go see DESHAUN, and I was just so sad thinking about like, damn, like I'm not doing shows, I'm not seeing my friends, I'm not doing anything. And it's just like, but this beat has that je ne sais quoi. You know, it's just like, it makes you see, like, it makes you see despite everything, at least I am in a car that I own, and at least I do get to see DESHAUN. And it's just like, it's a reality check. And that's what this kind of album felt like to me, was that,
yeah,
like, it's a reality check. Like, despite everything, there is art. Despite everything, there is some je ne sais quoi about it. Despite everything, there's Jeremy Bixby. You know what I'm saying? So
bro, absolutely.
Yeah. So
we were thinking about that too. Like, it's just so crazy how this album ended up coming out, I think, right when people need to hear these messages the most.
Yep.
Because there's been so much suffering this year from every angle. And I think everybody globally can all share that this year has been hard for them in some way. And to have an album that like showcases all these stories of redemption, like on Je ne sais quoi, there's so many times where like someone feels like they've lost it all, from like the two broke friends to the dad who's had a bad day, to the guy who was in jail for a long time and finally got out, to the person that thought that he could never quit smoking cigarettes, to the person that just came out of a coma. You know, there are moments like that all over the album, and they all end with the character getting what they want out of life, or at least figuring out that they have stuff to be grateful for. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen on every song, because like on New Beginnings, the guy is stuck in a cycle and he just keeps repeating the same old mistakes, doing the same old shit. But on Back in the Saddle, Je ne sais quoi, Gambling Man to like a certain extent, what Wake You Up, all of these songs have characters who are figuring out that they have a lot to be thankful for. And I think that that's a message we could not have predicted people would need right now when this album came out. Because, I mean, couldn't have even thought of this at the top of the year when like COVID hit, because it's not just COVID, but all these police killing people, all this unrest, all this division, climate change. Like, we've been hit with so many different just acts of like cruelty all year long. All of us know people who have passed away this year. I personally have had several friends who have who have died from illness or killed himself. Like, I think that this overall uplifting, positive feeling that's throughout this album is needed now more than ever. I think back when we were writing it, there were hints of that. Like, clearly the world was going to shit back then. And I think just like a part of that in us, our fight to keep going, which I think is a big reason why we are so committed to making art and making music, even at times when like friends of ours have like dropped out the game, or like other friends just like want to be bitter and just like complain. We've always found situations for us to make music, to keep getting money, and just make shit happen even when stuff's looking grim. And I think it's beautiful, man. It's crazy. Like I said, you can't make this shit up, bro.
Absolutely,
Crazy.
man. And this will be my last question, because it's definitely 5:52 right now. You know, we're trying to respect the time. But me and you talk about Tribe all the time, because we both have a mutual love for Tribe. And on Special Girl, you make a reference to a Vibrant Thing, right? It's Vibrant Thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just like go in a little bit, if you want, on how much Tribe like means to you, because I mean, I love Tribe a lot. So like,
Yeah.
We also talk about Prince just a little bit too while we're talking about that.
Why
Sure,
not?
gladly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So on Special Girl's chorus, doing that for the chorus was GoldenEye's idea. And when he came with it, I was digging it because I felt like it's a cool way to repurpose these lyrics, because my whole vibe on like Special Girl, even though it's a love song, I'm not trying to sound all like lovey-dovey. Like my whole direction was to spit that song like it's a hard-ass song. Like, just spit it like any way an MC would like rip a song that was full of bars. The same mood, same energy. And I felt like to put Vibrant Thing, which back in its day, a lot of people looked at it as like, oh, Tip is selling out. This is like a little pop song. You know, it's like taking something that was thought of as like being like soft and spitting it in a way that feels hard, to where if you don't know the song, you might think like I'm just saying some like real ass shit. You feel me? Tribe though, Tribe is like a group I always loved. I really got into them and Prince, both in high school, both because people put me onto them. With Tribe Called Quest in my art class, I had this. There was this this white boy in my class named Hunter, and he was like a backpacker, right? And he walked over to me, and I was listening to the new Jay-Z album at the time, which was the Blueprint 2. That's how fucking long ago this was.
Whoa.
And then he was like, "Bro, Jay-Z trash, bro. You need to listen to some real hip hop." And I was like,
From a white man?
yeah, I was like, what the also, granted, you know, not like even on some like racist shit, but when I went to high school, that was my first time going to school with like a lot of white kids, right? And it like wasn't like a culture shock, because I watched TV and I loved rock music and I liked punk music. Like being around white culture, quote unquote, wasn't that odd, but being around mad white people on like a regular day, that was different. But I was open to it. And when Hunter pulled up on me like that, I was like, yo, what the fuck do you know about hip hop, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, bro, I'm gonna burn you a bunch of music. And he burned me 2 Tribe albums. He burned me Reasonable Doubt, and he burned me a Roots album. And I liked the Roots album. I didn't like Reasonable Doubt, thought it was hella boring. And the 2 Tribe albums that he gave me were Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders, and I loved both of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like off top, I was like, yo, of all this shit you gave me, what is this shit? I've never, what is this? And from Tribe, I like got into, you know, De La Soul and like all this shit. And I just wasn't familiar with that scene. Like I knew Vibrant Thing because it was a radio song when like I was a little kid. but I didn't know about Tribe Called Quest really till he put me on, and then I found out that they had this whole world. And with Prince, I liked Prince casually, and I had a teacher named Mr. Garner who was a big Prince fan, and I like stepped to him one day. I was like, yo, so I really listened to Purple Rain, and I listened to this album Dirty Mind, and I really liked them. Like can we talk about Prince? Because like me and this teacher would like chat about music sometimes. He was also a big hip hop head, right? So like we would talk about, you know, I would ask him about Tribe, like how like pop they were back in the day, just like chopping it up about different music, right? And he was like, bro, come to my classroom early tomorrow and I got something for you. And I pulled up early and he had like 9 Prince albums that he burned me. Prince albums, Morris Day and the Time. He like burned me a Prince B-Sides album and was like, yo, here. And I listened to all that shit. And I was like, yo, this nigga is so ill. What I liked about Prince was that, one, I could tell off top that he was an artist. Like he was a person who was thinking about the art and the message and the context and all of that first and foremost. In my mind, I thought he was like just a pop star. Like maybe people were like writing songs for him and he just singing like, you know, Britney Spears or something. I didn't realize that he played all these instruments. He like produced his music, wrote his music, arranged the music, like, and then also formed these like other groups and like built this whole universe and like built his like own sound. And his sound, it incorporates like a bit of this style, a bit of that style. I saw a lot of myself in his musical ambitions, not in his style, but in the way that he viewed music as like, this is for everybody, and any part of music is something that I can take to be my own. I can play rock music, I can play funk, I can have strings, I can make gospel songs, I can make jazz songs. Like the whole range of styles are totally open to me, and that just really impressed me. Like, and I think I saw a bit of that with A Tribe Called Quest too. Because they like sample Stevie Wonder and Velvet Underground and like, you know, they were just open too, and they seemed they also came off, when I would read their like interviews and stuff, they also came off as like music scholars, especially Q-Tip, and I've always gravitated toward people like that.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
That's great, dude. So yeah, dude, it's definitely it's about time. So Tony, do you have like 5 more minutes, or you gotta go?
Sure, yeah, talk to me.
Oh shit, great.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
happy. We can do rapid fire then.
All right, you start off.
Okay, Tony. So we'll try to condense this one, but like, so you're gonna be stranded on the island for a whole year. What 3 albums are you bringing?
3 albums.
Mhm.
I am bringing Ghostface, Supreme Clientele. I am bringing Prince, Sign of the Times. And I'm bringing the first Brandy album, the self-titled album.
Nice. Is that the one with oh my god, I'm blanking. I'm not even gonna try to remember it. But happy.
Broken Hearted.
Mhm.
I want to be down.
I want to be down.
Tons of hits on that album, man.
It's a
Beautiful
classic one, dude. Yeah.
And I'm bringing those albums because the Ghostface album and that Prince Sign of the Times album, but especially the Ghostface album, I mean, honestly, they're both the same. I can't say one is better than the other. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the Ghostface and the Prince album are both so dense that it'll give me a lot to mull over while I'm stranded. You know, both of them are long albums, so there's plenty of songs to choose from. The Ghostface album is so wordy and so intricate. I am still picking up on like stuff that he says on that album now, even though I've been listening to it for like the last 15 years. And that Brandy album is just so soothing. Her voice is beautiful. The instrumentation is great. Some of the music on it reminds me of like gospel music. And I didn't grow up in the church, but my grandmother was Baptist. I was raised Catholic, but my grandma was Baptist, and I would go to church with like her sometime, and I'd be around her like sister, and they listen like gospel music. So just the sound of like gospel just reminds me of my childhood, and I hear a lot of that in like Brandy's first album, and also her like style of singing just really reminds me of like the 90s. And just all of that just like gives me a warm feeling. Like 90s R&B and Screw, both of those sounds really remind me of growing up in Third Ward, and I always turn to that music when I want to feel like I'm home again.
Gosh, man, that's beautiful.
Okay, my rapid fire. Real quick, going back to that. You see that they just did a reissue box set of Sign of the Times, and it's like,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
come on, man.
I got it already.
All right.
Come on, buddy. Bruh. Buddy, come on, man. I got all the motherfucking discs. Come on, bruh.
That is amazing. I knew because I was like, he hasn't said anything yet. So I was like, oh, he has it already.
Yeah.
Nigga, it's me.
That's amazing.
All right.
It's me. Come on, bruh. I am Prince Stan in this bitch. Know what's cool too? Two of my cousins who are like close to my age, they also love Prince. So for many years now, since like we were kids, we been Prince heads, been trading the bootlegs and the outtakes and all that shit, man.
That's great.
That's beautiful.
It's a family thing.
Yeah, I don't really know what else I was expecting. I'm gonna be honest, but all right. I'm gonna get a little corny with my rapid fire question, or a little cheesy. What, Fat Tony? What wake you up in the morning?
What wakes me up? Damn, that's a good fucking question. See, that's why that song is so good, because even the title just makes you think like, damn, what the fuck wakes me up? I would say for me right now, what wakes me up is the fact that I feel like as a creative person, I'm in a zone right now that's really fruitful. I feel like I'm coming up with some of my best ideas I've ever come up with, and I'm lucky to have some outlets where I can use them. Like I have people who are supporting me getting music out, you know, possibly turning my ideas into podcasts, and there's all these other things, right? And I feel like this is part of what I dreamed of. You know what I mean? Like being able to wake up and to use my creativity to sustain my life and build my life to where I wanted to go next. And I'm always waking up very thankful for that, because I think what might seem modest to some people means a lot to me. Like the fact that I have a house means a lot to me. It's a modest house, but I own it. The fact that I have music out that I own. The fact that I've created this life for myself. I mean, it gives me a lot to be happy about. Like, I never imagined that I would be where I'm at right now. I hope to be, but I didn't really fully see it coming. But now that I'm an adult, like I truly feel like an adult right now, it's hard to not be thankful for that, knowing how much time I've put into building a life like this, like getting to a point where I could be just not fucking broke and like desperate, you know what I mean? To like to like be able to have options, to be able to take care of something if like bad things happen. Like, I don't know. I'm very, very thankful for it. And I'm thankful because I know I didn't do it all on my own. I'm thankful because I have people that I've been friends with and have worked with for so long, and we're still doing it, like, and we're all still alive. Like, I think I'm also at an age where, like, as much of as I have friends who are like getting married, like having kids, I have friends who are passing away too. Like, you know, life is just really hitting me. It's like on the forefront of my mind every day. I just talked to my mom. She's talking about her age and like her health. Like, you know, we have like all these very real things happening in like my life all the time. And I think being thankful is what keeps me going through all that, especially when it's hard. Then I might be kind of corny answer too.
No, I think that was
Beautiful.
That's how I
like
feel.
that answer. You can hear that same answer on tracks like Je ne sais quoi, and I think that's a beautiful thing that it's consistent like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, bro, I mean, we just made an album in fucking Jamaica. shit was paid for. Like, niggas ain't have to go work some extra jobs for it. Like, this is I mean, I think that and I think that when I talk to my mom now, I can hear how proud she is of me in a way that I couldn't really hear before, and that makes me really grateful too, because I know that you know, the lifestyle I have, I always felt like, oh, she would never get it. She would never get down with this. I'm like a fucking rapper. Like, I remember back in the day, I had a birthday party, and my friend was like telling my mom, like, yo, Tony had like a bunch of girls there, and yo, yeah, he has groupies and blah blah blah. And I'm just and like he's smoking weed. I'm just like, man, my mom hearing this shit about me, she probably think I'm a fucking jerk. But to be like, actually, she's very proud of me and like looks at what I've done to be something to be proud of. Just makes me feel good.
There you go.
Absolutely, man. That's beautiful, bro. Tony, bro, thank you so much for doing this, man. We know you got other shit to do. So
Thank
just wanna
you,
say,
man.
yeah, dude, no problem, bro. Thank you so much for sharing your wonderful music with us. One last thing I just gotta say, thank you for Wake Up, not the album, but the song. I know I've said this about almost all your songs, but that's one of my favorite songs ever. Like,
Yo, the freaking TD Jakes thing that we sampled on there.
yup.
Yeah.
When I first saw that clip, I laughed so motherfucking hard. Like, I feel like that was one of the last times where I had a hearty ass laugh. That was like 2017, I think, when that meme was going around. That shit had me fucking dying. Because I hadn't seen a pastor like that in so long.
Right.
And it just brought then the nigga sweating, all the rolls in his neck. I'm like, bro, that was the funniest shit ever to me. And I kind of sent it to like Tay Dex. No, when I first saw it, I was in a session with Tay Dex and Heaven the Dude. I was laughing my fucking ass off. And then like a few months later, I got back in the studio with Tay Dex. And I was like, I was kind of like a joke. I was like, bro, sample this. And he made a crazy beat to it. And then it was like, oh, I guess we'll make a project called Wake Up.
Oh, dude, I'm fanning out right now. That's
But yeah, Wake Up started with that TD Jakes meme.
That's so fucking fire, bro.